Yo, Woodrow Wilson, with that segregation, ain't no friend of mine. Presidency tainted with your dark and twisted paradox. Aggressive on the surface, but your heart's a different kind. Hypocritical, historical, your legacies are bound to die. Got your 14 points, but it's all for show. Racial injustice, man, you really took us. Wilson can't forgive your sins. Progress stained in lies, you lose this spin. No place in history where you can win. Academic background, still you play this all like fool. Preaching world peace, but back home you change your rules. League of Nations, nah, we ain't cool. Your racism's a play. You taught it in schools. Trust busted, self-trusted. Your legacy is twisted. A contradiction in terms. Justice you resisted. Wilson can't forgive your sins. Segregation is hard. Where do we begin? Progress stained in lies. You lose this spin. No place in history where you can win. Looking back to time, your flaws we unravel.
All right, what's going on, everybody? We'll wrap it up right there. Okay, this is going to be interesting. So I'm wearing my Ipswich jersey today because the tour that we're going to be talking about, we actually were just a couple of miles from Ipswich at one point. I got something. I cut my mouth or something, so if I sound like I'm slurring my speech a little bit, I promise you I have not had anything to drink today. So I see some of the folks who were with us on the tour. I see Michael said, can't wait to hear about the trip. Of course, you were on the trip, so as was Vashik. A couple of starred messages I already have on here. Rob, History in Your Hand, says, I take full and complete credit for this idea. So the day after the tour ended, a group of us went to... a group of us went to Duxford, to the Air Museum there, which is fantastic, by the way. There's so much to see. And we were in the gift shop afterward, and I was toying with the idea of buying this behemoth of a Kobe B-17. It's the Memphis Belle. It's got 1,400 pieces. But it was so expensive, and I was like, having trouble justifying the cost. And so the idea that I couldn't remember who it was that gave the idea, but it was Rob apparently, that said, well, why don't you, when you do your live stream talking about the tour, why don't you work on it then? And you can justify the cost, because it was like $100 and some. So I was like, all right, I can do that. So I got on Amazon and ordered it. And so after I show you some of the pictures and talk a little bit about the tour we did, and I see Matthew Leach is in the house, we'll work on this a little bit. I'm not going to get nearly finished with it. We'll see how far we get. So just for a minute here, let's go ahead and go to and Vashik says there's no need for any justification to buy a Kobe set. And that's coming from a guy who has a whole bunch of these things. Like, I swear, a couple times a week, he's sending me messages with showing me what latest one he got. So yeah, we'll talk a little bit about the tour, and as a kind of a free promo for Matt and Leighton and the We Happy Few guys, they are going to be doing another one next spring. I probably will not be on that one just because of all the other tours I already have going on. But it's good to see you here, Matt. And Matt's going to show up in the first picture I'm going to show you here just a second. Let me go ahead and get the pictures pulled up for you here. There we go. So, yeah, this is it. If you've seen Masters of the Air, then you're familiar with Thorpe Abbotts, which is the base that the 100th Bomb Group was flying their missions out of. And so that's the tower right there. And if you go back and watch Masters of the Air, especially after us having been there now, it's really cool to see it because we were there. We were on that site. And just behind where the five of us are standing there. So there's that's Rob from History in Your Hand. There's Marcel from History War Cinema. That's Sean, who does not have a YouTube channel, but is an amazing cook, by the way. There's me, and then there's Matt right there. So, hey, JD, what's going on? Are you in Guadalcanal now? Is that where you're at? I can't keep up with where you're at. I know you're in the Pacific somewhere. But yeah, right behind us then, like right around where that big stack of hay is, that's where the main runway is that these guys were flying out of. It was incredible to be there. It was really, really cool. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the tour, and then I'll take your questions, and we'll start working on this B-17 a little bit. But we were in East Anglia, which is be Norfolk, Suffolk, and Cambridge. That area, we're based out of Cambridge. So Ipswich, Norwich, that whole area, kind of northeast of London is where we were. But this is Thorpe Abbott specifically, and my pictures are all kind of mixed together here. So this is kind of a model of Horham, which was the air base for the 95th Bombardment Group. They were in the same air division as the 100th, so they flew a lot of the same missions. And one of the things I learned on this trip was just how massive these air bases were. They were huge. You don't really get that sense of the scale of it. I mean, because you're talking about thousands of personnel on each one of these bases, and you're talking about dozens of these bases just for the heavy bomb groups. So that just gives you a little bit. And we were only on one little tiny part of RAF Horham, which is where this was. So this is kind of cool. This is a picture being taken with some of the actors. We had a number of the actors from Masters of the Air with us, and representatives of the current 100th, which is like an air refueling group now, I believe. And they're stationed in East Anglia. So they have the lineage, like they're the ones who trace their lineage back to the 100th Bomb Group, and their commanding officer, as well as a number of other members of that unit, were there with us. It was really, really cool. The BBC was there and did a whole story on it, so it was pretty neat. So if you have questions, I probably won't get to them until I'm done kind of showing off some of the pictures and talking a little bit about this. It was a 2-day tour that we did. Like I said, we were based out of Cambridge, but we also were hanging out at night at a pub that has a long history going back to the air. The guys who were stationed there, a lot of their signatures are up on the walls and things like that. It's pretty neat. So this is back in Thorpe Abbotts now, and you can see here, these are some of the guys. Right here in front of me is that's Bubbles. So if you know Masters of the Air, you know Bubbles. Joseph Payne, who was killed. He's actually buried in Normandy at the American Cemetery. He was a navigator. He was the group navigator for a while until he was replaced by Harry Crosby. And so that's Bubbles right there. And then we got some of the other guys, Bailey right there. But they were all great. And we had an amazing time hanging out with them. And for these guys, a lot of them hadn't seen these sites before. So it was pretty cool to be able to share that with them. And this is them here. There's Matt Leach right there. And then these are the guys, the 7 guys that were with us from Masters of the Air, and we did kind of a Q&A, and we watched episode 5. So that was really cool. And so somebody said in the comments on Instagram, they said, well, you've watched Band of Brothers in Toccoa on the base. Now you've watched Masters of the Air at Thorpe Abbotts. What's next? Watching the Pacific from Guadalcanal. Well, I can't do that, but I know someone who can. But yeah, there's just some more pictures of that. So this is back now. Part of the collection at RAF Horham, where the 95th was stationed. They have an incredible museum there and some great volunteers. And so I don't think I've ever seen a collection of memorabilia, uniforms, medals, pictures from a single unit so concentrated in one place. Like even going to Toccoa, I don't think they had as much stuff from Band of Brothers from Easy Company as what you saw at Horham for the 95th. And they said a lot of it actually has been put up for sale by family members. And so they have a fund that people have donated to and money they've raised that allows them to go in and buy this stuff, like when it goes up on eBay and on auction sites and things like that. So they had a really cool collection of it. Now this was really special. And I have to say a big thank you to Leighton Hughes, who was the one who kind of put this whole tour together. He and Matt do We Happy Few. And I put a link down in the description so you can check out their website. You can see pictures from some of the other tours that they've done. I've been on some of them. I haven't been to all of them. And they've got more coming up. We're going to be in Belgium in January. I will be there for that one. And last I knew, there were still a couple of tickets available for that. We'll be based out of Liège, and we're actually going to be following in the footsteps of, if you're familiar with Masters of the Air, the crew from Alice from Dallas. They're shot down, and they follow the story of a couple of those guys. I think it's Quinn and Bailey, and they're both going to be on the tour with us, the guys who played them. And we're going to kind of be telling that story and following and talking about the resistance movement and what they did to help these guys get out. But this particular one, I have to thank Leighton for this, because my understanding is he did this specifically for me, which is kind of awesome. But I think everybody enjoyed the experience. This is RAF Kim Bolton. And you've probably heard me share before that my grandfather-in-law was in the 379th Bomb Group, 524 Squadron. He was a ball turret gunner. And this is where they were based. And when we first got there and got off the bus, I was in tears. It was a pretty overwhelming experience because John Sabo was his name. Greatest man I've ever known. Just an absolutely first-class human being. Gentle and kind and generous and just all around amazing. And if I can ever be half the man that he was, then I will have accomplished something in my life. So it was pretty cool to be where he was and to walk around. And this is actually, I think this is like the taxiway that's still sitting there from the base. Oh, yes. Thank you for reminding me. Sawyer Spielberg, who also was in Masters of the Air. Steven Spielberg and Kate Capshaw's son. He's going to be with us on that tour as well. So, yeah, the link's down in the description for We Happy Few 506. I think there are a couple of tickets still available for that tour. And you can join us on that one. That'll be a lot of fun. So, yeah, we got to walk around that one a little bit, and you'll see some of the pictures from that as we go along. This was part of the presentation they did on the Munster Raid, which was the episode that we watched while we were there. There's some more from Horam. Some of the uniforms, that's Horam as well. So there, he was just, this was part of the presentation for the 100th, just talking about their worst missions. People talk about Easy Company and what they experienced, right? But think about this. Just in these 8 missions, every time you see a number like 9 B-17 shot down, multiply that times 10. And that's how many guys were either killed, wounded, or captured, or really killed or captured. So 90, 70, 120, 150. That's how many men in each of these missions. And this is a battalion-sized unit. We're talking about, when we're talking about air crews, we're talking about basically the size of a battalion. And imagine losing that many men over and over and over again. It's just absurd. It really is absurd. There's me next to the ball turret that they have on display at Thorpe Abbott's. It was pretty cool. They had a line there. You can see the line right there. You have to be that short or shorter to be allowed to get into the ball turret that they have on display. No, I could not get in. I was like a foot too tall to get into it. Obviously, guys, I'm a little under 5'10". My grandfather-in-law was about 5'5", and he was able to fit in it. So, yeah, there's some more displays from Horam. That's us walking up to Horam there. That's another view of Kim Bolton right there. That's all of this was part of Kim Bolton's air base at that time. And a lot of these places, they still have the concrete is still there. And you can see there's us watching episode 5 at Thorpe Abbott's. It was just such a cool experience to be able to do that. But yes, that was real size. That was absolutely a real size ball turret. That shows you how tiny they were. There again, that's the tower at Thorpe Abbott's, and it is identical to what you see on the show when you watch Masters of the Air. It's really, really cool. So there's Bubbles talking to us. We were kind of doing some Q&A, and they were answering some questions and things like that. There's a part of an engine. They're going to actually eventually have the full engine there on display to show you what one of the engines for the B-17s would have looked like. This is another part. This is looking at some of the Nissan huts at Horam there. Here's the guys that were on tour with us, some of the guys from the cast. I believe they were all in Rosie's Riveters. Well, no, you know what? Bailey wasn't, because he was in Alice from Dallas, and then they got to go home after that. But yeah, Matt, that's a good way to put it. Appallingly claustrophobic. And remember that the ball turret gunner was the one guy on the crew who did not have his parachute on. So while some people have the misconception that the ball turret gunner was the most dangerous place to be, in terms of casualties taken on planes that returned to base, they weren't. It was much more dangerous, for example, to be up front. That was the most dangerous place. So pilot, co-pilot, bombardier, navigator. Those were the most dangerous spots. But on planes that got shot down, ball turret gunner was the most dangerous, because while other guys had their parachutes on and could jump out the door, the ball turret gunner had to get up out of the ball turret, get a parachute on, and then get out. And so it was a much more dangerous position to be in on a fort that was going down. But yeah, these guys were all young. I mean, you're talking 18, 19, 20 years old. You see in episode 2, they show a guy from where I live, Youngstown, Ohio, who they call him Babyface. His name was William Hinton. And we're going to be visiting Babyface's grave on the tour in January. And I'm going to be bringing a wreath from the city of Youngstown to say thank you to him. But he was a kid. He was 18 years old. It was his first mission. Just horrifying to think about. That was really cool, because that was a painting of Rosie's Riveters that they have on display. They had one on display at Thorpe Abbotts. They also had it on display at Thurley, which was another base that we went to. And it was cool because I was standing there with the guys from the crew that portrayed these guys, and they were looking for themselves in the painting. So it was pretty neat. So this is cool. This was those are 2 pictures there of my grandfather-in-law that were taken at Kim Bolton, with him standing there with the B-17 in the background. He's leaning against the propeller on the one on the right there. You can see that right there. And so I put those there with the memorial to the 379th, which he was a part of. So that was pretty neat to be there, to be a part of that. There he is there in that picture. And that jacket, we have his uniform, but his son, so he had, my grandfather-in-law had 2 kids. My mother-in-law was his only daughter, and then he had a son, and his son's family has that bomber jacket, but we have the uniform. So I will get to your questions here soon, as soon as I show some more of this. Let me show you a few more pictures here. There again, that's part of that's the museum at Horham, RAF Horham, for the 95th Bomb Group, which is really cool. This is where somebody carved their initials into the concrete at Kim Bolton. And we also saw, this is probably my favorite picture that I took. This is inside the control room at Thorpe Abbotts. And that was really neat, just because having seen, and I came back home and watched the entire series again, and it was even better having gone on the tour to see it again. So yeah, I highly recommend Masters of the Air. To me, I've seen it 3 times now. It's gotten better every time I've watched it. This is hard stand number 5 at Thorpe Abbotts. I don't know which plane was stationed there, but this is one of the hard stands. So one of the B-17s would have been parked right there at Thorpe Abbotts. It's one of the few remaining hard stands that they have that's there. That is Thorpe Abbotts. So this gives you a little bit of a sense of what these guys faced. So understand that the 100th Bomb Group, they came to England with 35 crews, 35 planes, 350 members of these crews. Think about that. They started with 350 guys. These are the casualties they took with 35 planes and 350 guys. They flew 306 missions, dropped 19,000 tons of bombs. They lost 800 killed or missing in action. 950 were either POWs or were shot down but escaped. 177 B-17s shot down just from that bomb group. Remember, they started with 35. They had 177 shot down. And that was in the span of less than 2 years. So, a lot of people complained that they didn't really get to know the characters in Masters of the Air other than really kind of the 4 main guys. Well, that makes sense, because there were such ridiculous turnover because of the casualties that these guys took. Yeah, it was definitely worse than other military branches. I don't think anybody suffered the level of losses percentage-wise that these heavy bomber groups did during the Second World War over Europe. All right, a couple more pictures. Let's take a look. There's just some more from the 95th Bomb Group. Here's some more from the Q&A that we did. This is Kim Bolton. This is that taxiway at Kim Bolton. There's the footprints of what we can only assume is somebody who was on the base at the time the concrete was poured in 1943 for RAF Kim Bolton. That's me standing there on that same area at Kim Bolton. This is part of Thorpe Abbott's. There's me with the tower at Thorpe Abbott's in the background. Here's some of us checking out Horham. That's Kim Bolton again. And then this was really neat. This is the date carved in. And we think maybe it was 9/8/43, but it's definitely 8/43. So this is probably when the concrete was poured for the base. Yes, Steve, but I wasn't talking about German U-boat crews. I was talking about on the American side. I assumed the question about other military branches was concerning the other branches of the U.S. military. So yeah, U-boat crews definitely suffered probably the highest of any branch of any service. So this was a cool picture. This was on display at Thorpe Abbott's, and that's Bucky Egan right there. It's Buck Clevin, and then that's Robert Rosenthal, three of the guys who are three of the four kind of main characters in Masters of the Air. The fourth one being Harry Crosby, and you'll see him too. But so this is inside of the pub that we spent our evenings at in Cambridge, and you can just see some of the signatures where people have written their names, and those go like you see these ones are like 2020, so it's all the way up to the present. But up on the ceiling, they had some of the ones from the Second World War. So here we have actually a couple of the guys from Masters of the Air looking for themselves in that picture of Rosie's Riveters. And this was at Thurley, which is another one of the bases that we visited while we were there. And here's us at that pub there. I bought a round for all the actors when they first came that night. We were there it's called the Eagle. It's also the pub where Watson and Crick announced that they had discovered DNA. So that was really, really cool. They were researching at Cambridge when they discovered DNA, and they announced it at this pub. So it was really, really neat to be a part of it. And here's some of the guys we were sitting around having a pint with the actors. And there's me with one of them there. That's Bailey. His name was Bailey Brooke, but he also played a guy named Charles Bailey in the series. Here's the guys there at Thurley when we were there with the picture of Rosie's Riveters. So there's more pictures. This is Pappy. So if you, again, if you're familiar with the series, Pappy was the co-pilot to Rosie on some of those flights, and that's him there. And here's, you can see a little bit of the ceiling up there that they have preserved. And it says the writing of two air forces of World War II, the United States 8th Air Force and RAF, by candlelighter and lipstick, which is amazing. There you go. So they're planning to run another tour in May. Definitely follow We Happy Few 506 on social media. And I put the link down in the description to the website so you can check that out. Those tours tend to sell out pretty fast. This tour that we just did last week, I think sold out in like hours, if not less. But it was really cool. So here's us. There's Leach and the gang posing for pictures. That's us just kind of standing around at the pub at the Eagle. And that was me talking about my grandfather-in-law, telling a little bit of his story at Kim Bolton again, which I'm grateful. It was 42 minutes is how fast it sold out. So I'm grateful to Leighton and We Happy Few 506 for making that happen, for me being able to step onto that place at Kim Bolton. It really was just an amazing opportunity that I might not have otherwise had. So, so there's, again, just us at the Eagle. And yeah, there's the one. I'm told there is video of me dancing on the taxiway at Kim Bolton. So the story behind this picture, I was posing for a picture there, and one of my friends, I use in quotes because I'm joking. They're definitely great friends. But one of them said something about me always having the same pose in all my pictures at historic sites. So I started dancing, and then of course, I think it was Rob, I don't remember for sure, took that picture of me dancing, and I'm a terrible dancer, so you never want to see that if you can avoid it. All right, so let's go ahead and get some questions in, and then I'm going to start working on this B-17. Great moment, right? With friends like that, who needs enemies? Nah, it was an amazing thing. Oh, I do want to show one more thing to you guys. I can now say that I have acted with one of the actors from Band of Brothers. We read a scene. If you've seen Masters of the Air, there's a scene after the raid on October 8th of 43 where Buck Clevin gets shot down. Bucky Egan is they're best friends. He's in London on leave, and he makes a phone call back to base and uses code language talking about a baseball game to find out what happened, and then to let them know that he wanted to fly in the next mission. And so they had us read that scene, me and Matt. I don't know if the sound is working. Let me know if the sound's working.
Well, this is the build-up to Munster, just to fill in the 2 minutes. And this is the call that Johnny Egan makes on a phone box to headquarters because his mate's been knocked down on the 8th of October. And there's one. So we'll just run through this one now. Okay, folks.
So that's our tour guide. He was Scottish.
Okay. He's in the phone box, remember?
He's in the phone box.
He's in the phone box.
I'm in the phone box.
You're back at
you're on the other phone.
You're in the phone for pallets. You're going. Take the call. Okay.
We're both on the phone.
He's calling you from London.
Okay.
And
This is one page, right?
Back to the blue for real.
Exactly.
Matt wanted to be Egan.
All right. Quiet on the set.
Right, here we go.
Yeah. All right. You ready?
Norfolk 7322.
This is Bowman.
Red Egan here. I had a game go yesterday.
Not as well as we'd hoped.
Was Buck in the lineup?
Yeah.
You have a good game?
He went down swinging, John.
Who else?
Most of the starting lineup.
3 game tomorrow?
Yes.
All right, tell coach I'll be there at game time. In red, I want pitch.
So Matt can just turn on that American accent like it's nothing. In fact, Matt can do all kinds of accents. He does really good with those. I can recognize accents, but I can't really do them very well. All right, so let's get to some questions, and I'm gonna try to build a little bit of this thing. It's like 180 steps, so I'm not gonna get anywhere close to finished, but just gives me something to do while we do some Q&A and stuff. Night King, thank you for that. Nice video reacting to Metatron. He did a really interesting video on Vlad the Impaler. Awesome. Yeah, a couple of people have recommended to me about his Bible series, so I may have to check that out at some point. I did really enjoy his video, and I thought he did a great job with it. I'm also very proud of the fact that my reaction to the Cooper interview, where he basically said that Churchill was the greatest villain of World War II, my reaction now has significantly more views than the original video does. So I'm pretty happy about that. Maxime Munger, have I ever visited HMS Victory? I haven't been to Portsmouth yet, but that is definitely on my list of, places I want to go. My next trip to Europe is actually in November. I'm going to Ireland for the first time. I'm going to be going to Belfast. I'm not Belfast. I'm going to Dublin. Belfast is in Northern Ireland. I might get up to Belfast while I'm there. I'm not sure, but I'm definitely going to Dublin. Let me, hello from Ipswich. Yeah, I'm wearing Ipswich because we were just a couple miles away from there when we were at Thorpe Abbott's. Longtime viewer, first time chatter. Do people in your personal life ever take issue with how open you are on your channels? Not really. I'm pretty careful to guard anything that I don't like. Like if it's one thing to talk about myself, but if I'm talking about stuff that involves other people, I try to be careful about what I share. But yeah, I can think of one example of someone in my life who didn't like something I shared in a recent stream. So I won't say more than that. But yeah, it's rare, but it does happen. And I try to be careful of that. Do you save the picture of you dancing? Yeah, it's I haven't seen the video yet, but my friend Marcel says there's video out there somewhere of that. So we'll see. Yeah, rest in peace, Chris Christopherson. And no, not Ghost Rose. I don't hold high hopes for my Guardians in the playoffs because I don't think our starting pitching is strong enough. But all right, this looks. I think that's right. Okay, yeah, I gotta find. There's so many pieces. There's multiple bags. I only have the first bag open so far because there's just so many pieces. Then there's bags within bags. So I'm still opening the bags from within the first bag at the moment. This is something that's going to take me like probably weeks to finish because there's so many dang pieces to it. All right, I got to dump out another bag here. I've got hundreds of pieces laying on my desk, and that's just for the first section. I think I'm working on wings right now. So like I said, this is the Memphis Belle. So it's a B-17F is the model that I'm building, and it's 20 inches long when the thing's completed. So I don't even know where I'm going to put it on display, but I had to have it. I've got some World War I planes, and I actually have a Spitfire that I also ordered that I'm going to be building at some point. Anything interest me about the history of Wales? Oh yeah, a lot of great history in Wales, and I want to go back to Wales. I've only been there for a day. I went there to see Wrexham play, so I definitely want to go back and do more visiting Wales and maybe do some videos with some of the history there. Boy, trying to find some of the pieces for this here. I wish they put these in like smaller bags so it was easier to find which pieces were which. But I guess that's part of the game, right? Is looking for all the pieces and figuring out where they go. So it looks like we're actually adding to it now here. Do I ever watch any channels that don't like reactions on my own time? Yeah, Lamino. I love Lamino. So even though I don't react to his stuff anymore because he doesn't really like reactions, I do still watch his videos. There's a lot of channels that I watch just because I enjoy them, and they're not necessarily ones that I would react to. But I'm just a fan of the channels. I like a lot of travel channels. So like Kara and Nate are channel I love watching. I watch every one of their videos. There's certain channels I watch every video that comes out. Other than like my friends, like my friends, Marcel, who has History War Cinema, Sander VK History in Your Hand, History Underground. I watch all of those videos because I love those guys and I love what they do. And I always learn something new when I'm watching them. But just other than people I know personally, Kara and Nate, that's one I watch a lot. I like Jet Lag the Game. That's a really fun one for me because it's a cool spin on the concept of travel videos by making a game out of it. I can't find this piece that I'm looking for on this. I hate that when you're just starting out and you already can't find a piece that you're looking for. But yeah, I love those channels. Walter's World's a great one when I'm going somewhere that I haven't been before. I like to watch his stuff because I learn a lot about traveling and things like that. The Cooper and Tucker interview was something else. I watched it after I watched your reaction. Well, I wasn't impressed. Yeah, I would say the same for sure. So interesting thing now. When a new video goes live, for the first day or two, really the only people who are watching it are people who are subscribers, because it's just the way that YouTube's algorithm works with that stuff, is that it kind of sends it out to the subscribers, and then based on how popular the video is with subscribers, then it starts recommending it to other people. And so that video has now been out long enough. Oh, here's why I haven't opened this bag yet. That now it's starting to get to people who aren't subscribers of my channel. And so what I have noticed is the first couple of days, I was really pleasantly surprised at how pretty much all the comments were in opposition to Daryl Cooper and the idea that Churchill was the greatest villain of the war. But now that it's being recommended to people who aren't frequent visitors to the channel, today I've noticed a lot more comments taking Cooper's side and telling me that I'm an idiot and all the stuff that you might expect to have happen. So that's kind of been today. But you know what? Whatever people think, they're entitled to their opinion, and I'm entitled to think their opinion's stupid. All right, so I'm starting to find these pieces now. They were in another bag that I hadn't done yet. You can see how long this is going to take, especially while I'm answering questions and doing it at the same time and trying to follow the chat and all that stuff. Oh, wait, this goes down here, doesn't it? Yeah, there's another one of those. Here we go. As a Wednesday fan, yeah, I don't want to talk about that. You know, what's crazy about that game, Adam, is that that's the first time this season we have changed our lineup. He swapped out both defensive midfielders, and it was a disaster. So you saw how much better Albion played in the second half once we made some substitutions. But yeah, it was a rough start, man. But good for Wednesday, sitting down near the bottom of the table and getting that win. You guys definitely needed it, and we're still sitting top of the table, so I'm not complaining too much. Still a way better start than I thought we would have. William, yes, I am really excited for Egypt. I haven't booked my flights yet, though. I need to get on that. As a preemptive welcome to Ireland, I'm sure you'll love it. Most beautiful part of the country is Donegal. I'm planning to get to Donegal while I'm there. Yeah, so William's going to be on our Egypt tour. I'm really, really excited about that. That's coming in March. All right, let's try to do some more of this one here. It's hard to concentrate and do this while I'm chatting at the same time. So I apologize if I miss any of your questions or comments. There we go. Looks like this goes right there. And I know it's upside down for you guys, and you can't really even see it that well, but maybe I'll try to move it this way a little bit so you can see it better. I've never used two webcams on one stream before, so it's kind of a new territory for me. I had to go downstairs and get the webcam from my son's computer so that I could do this. Been wanting to ask for a while now, but finally caught you live as I love your videos. Thank you. Do I think if the Axis won World War II, they would eventually have fought each other for the rest of what's left? I could certainly see that happening because I don't think they were strong allies. I think they were more kind of allies of convenience. And I think that long term, their interests would have conflicted. But none of them were going to have the resources or the ability to kind of rule the world anyway. So it's hard to say what would have happened, but I'm glad it didn't happen. Now we've got gray ones like that for the other side. So it's kind of a camouflage scheme for the wings, which is why even though these are parallel pieces to each other, they actually look different. This goes there. And then we've got 2 more of these. And then I'll do another question. There we go. So you can see how long this is going to take. It's 1,376 pieces, and I'm just barely getting started with the wing. What sparked my interest in history? So for those who are new to the channel, maybe you haven't heard me answer this question. But it started when I was 8 years old and they found the Titanic. I'm going to actually, let's see, I'm going to make this bigger. Oh. How do I do this? No, not that way. Trying to figure out, I'm playing with all the different layouts here, trying to figure out how to make the, oh, here we go. That's what I can do. Yeah, so they found the Titanic in 1985, and I thought it was really interesting. I didn't know much about the Titanic, so I went down. This is, obviously before there was internet. So I went down to the library, and I got every book I could find on the Titanic. And that began kind of a theme for me, which is that I just kind of, when I get obsessed about history, I learn all I can about a particular topic. And then I kind of move on to the next topic and I get obsessed about that for a while, and so on and so forth. So that was where it started, though, was the discovery of the Titanic. Know you're visiting Ireland. Have you ever heard of the Choctaw-Irish relationship? Yes. Yeah, I don't know a lot of the details of it, but I am familiar with that tight connection. And I believe there are even some memorials in Ireland to the Choctaw people because of how they helped out with the famine. And that's something, if I have an opportunity and I'm near where that is, I'm going to check it out. Got to check out Shogunate Sengoku Jidai series. Awesome. So a lot more detail. Probably come back to it later on since we just did that topic. But yeah, I could see myself revisiting that topic down the road for sure. Okay. We've got more to do here on this. So now we've got some long pieces we're going to throw into it. Let me gather my pieces and then I can start laying them out here. Oh, those are all different sizes. That really messes me up when I'm trying to count and figure out which one's the right one. All right, so I actually want these ones. Two, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I need the one with 10. Yep, so that's that one. Okay. You should also check out History with Hit with Dan Snow. I'm a big fan of Dan Snow. I watched his ranking of World War II battleships yesterday. I figured that was probably not one I was going to react to, so I watched it yesterday. If it's a video I might do a reaction to, I don't watch it. But yeah, I watched it yesterday. It was pretty cool. I enjoyed that a lot. He did a tier ranking. Of course, he put Warspite in S, like a proper Brit should do. All right, here we go. So this goes here. We'll at least get the wings done during the stream if I can help it. Some of my pieces are getting away from me here. Oh, there's the star. I got to move some stuff around the microphone a little bit. Ah. Ugh. I apologize. I wanted to do this stream over the weekend, but ended up a pretty busy weekend, and I just didn't have time to fit it in. I went golfing on Saturday. First time I've done that in a long time. 18 holes after having not golfed for like 12 years. And I did pretty good. Of the 5 of us, I tied for first, and I had the best 9 holes of anybody on the back 9. Let's take a look here. Will you be reacting to Scotland History Tour's newest video on Scotland's most gruesome execution? Well, it sounds like something I'd be interested in. So yeah, we might have to check that out. Hook 'em. Oh yeah, I know I won't do that, but they're having a good season so far. Can't deny that at all. All right. So Steve asked, have you ever played the old Avalon Hill game, B-17 Queen of the Skies? No, but I did have a lot of old Avalon Hill games back in the day. Big fan of that. Have I ever been to Nottingham? No, but it's high on my list because my paternal line, my father's side of the family, came from Nottingham, came from a town called Edwinstowe, which is kind of right at the heart of like Sherwood Forest and the whole Robin Hood legend and all that kind of stuff. So still waiting for the Ireland trip. You mean like the one with me coming to Ireland in November, or me doing one, like hosting one? Because we're going to do both. I'm going to host an Ireland trip. Maybe October 25. We'll see. All right, where am I at on this current section here? All right, we need that right there. These are the pieces that are holding together the other pieces. Oh, come on. There we go. And then we've got one of those on the other side. I don't know if I'll do a video on Jimmy Carter turning 100, but I'm definitely glad that he's going to hit there. 7 hours to go, and Jimmy Carter will be officially 100 years old. I think a lot of people were cheering for him. Honestly, I did not think it would happen after seeing his condition at his wife's funeral and knowing how close they were and knowing how often in that situation husbands and wives seem to go one after the other. Like my own grandparents did. I really did not expect him to make it, but I'm very pleased to see that he's going to make it to 100. He'll be the first former president to ever make it that far. So I say good for him. All right, I got to find. There it is. We're slowly but surely getting these wings put together. I'm on step 5 of like 190. So rank Britain's most successful colonies. That's a great idea, concept for a ranking. I don't know how. I'd probably have to do some research before I'd feel comfortable ranking those, but it's certainly something I could do at some point. Let's see. What am I missing here? There we go. That's what I need. Oh, something's out of place here. That's what's missing. There we go. Slowly but surely. One of my ancestors was Sheriff of Nottingham. I like to think of him as Alan Rickman because, of course, one of my favorite quotes of his from that movie is, "I'm going to cut your heart out with a spoon." Hive Tyrant. Yeah, that'd be great. Actually, we talked about that because I showed you the pictures earlier from Kim Bolton where my grandfather-in-law was stationed. Well, that's the same bomb group, Ye Old Pub. That's where Ye Old Pub would have landed. Well, no, I'm sorry. They didn't land at Kim Bolton because they didn't make it that far. But that's where they took off for that mission, was from Kim Bolton, because Ye Old Pub was part of the 379th. I've done a couple of History Rebels videos already, and some others on the Revolution as well. I I don't know how many pieces for just the wings, but I'm looking at several hundred pieces just for the wings that are laying all over my desk right now. Have I stopped doing Blue Jay videos out of respect? I wasn't aware of him expressing any issue with reaction videos. So no, if that's the case, I haven't heard about it. When doing genealogy, surely America is the best people to do it because basically has to be a good story. I mean, yeah, I guess to an extent you have to have an immigrant story. So there's that. React to Extra History series about Benedict Arnold. Yeah, that's one I'll do at some point because that's a story that I know well, and I think I could definitely add some things to that one. All right, let's see. All right, we got a couple more of these gray pieces. They go right here. Nope, that's not right. Oh, come on, Chris, get your act together here. This is the worst part is when you put a piece on wrong, then you got to try and get it fixed. There we go. Wait, that's still not right. I'm a mess. You think you work too much? You're watching while working? Well, I'm glad you can distract yourself a little bit while you're doing it. There are certain lines I won't cross, and wearing a Celtic top would be one of those. So I don't mind wearing jerseys for teams that I don't support, like Ipswich isn't my team, but I like the jersey. But there are certain jerseys I will not wear. So FC Cincinnati, you'll never see me wear them because they're big rivals for Columbus Crew. You'll never see me wear Celtic. You'll never see me wear Wolves, who I'm very glad to see at the bottom of the table right now. Sorry, can't do it. Can't wear Celtic. I'm just not going to happen. If Hanks and Spielberg were to do one more miniseries about the Navy, what story would I like to see? USS Enterprise. Enterprise would make for a fantastic story. Could cover a lot of the war. I'll try to suggest that to Tom Hanks when I see him next spring. Don't worry, Michael. I would not bring my Rangers shirt to Ireland. I know better than that for sure. Let me make sure I'm not missing anything here. Geography Kings video on Ohio. I did a video, somebody did on Ohio, but I don't think it was that one. So I'll have to keep that in mind. Thank you, Micaiah. Mr. Welshman, not to brag, but you trace your father's line back to Rhys ap Griffith. Very cool, Lord Rhys of Dubert. Oh, that's awesome. That's really, really cool to have that kind of history. I'll end up rebuilding it tomorrow. Yeah, Steve, you're probably right. I don't know what I was thinking in doing this because I get so distracted when I'm doing a live stream, and because I try to focus on the chat and I try to do my best to make sure that I'm interacting with everybody. All right, let's see. What am I doing wrong here? Maybe I just have the wrong. I think that's just the wrong piece for that. That's what it is. It's supposed to be this one here. That's what threw me off. I used the wrong piece. Now I got to find the other one that looks like that. No. The good news is, as I get further and further along with building the wings, there'll be fewer pieces that I have to sift through to find the one that I need. There it is. And I just threw it on the floor. There we go. Yeah, I'm wearing the Ipswich jersey. It's a customized one too. It's got my name and number on the back. I'm a big Ed Sheeran fan, and that's his hometown team, so he's their sponsor. So it's got his tour logo on it. And I just thought it was a really cool story too, getting back-to-back promotions the way that they did, going right from League One to the Premier League. And I'm hoping that they'll stay up. Stella, get Eli to help me with my airplane. Yeah, he's really good at these, and he likes to help me build them, but he's actually not here at the moment, so can't get his help, at least till Thursday. Have I been to the Arizona? I have. 2002, went to Hawaii on my honeymoon, actually, and that's when we visited the Arizona. Which U.S. city has the best public transportation? I'm probably the wrong one to ask because I haven't used a lot of public transportation in many cities. I use it in D.C. and in New York City. Those are really the only cities I've ever used public transportation. So no U.S. city has. The U.S. doesn't have public transportation the same way Europe does, but you can get pretty much wherever you want to go in Washington, D.C. or New York on public transport. At least I can say that because I've used it there. Well, do any more future videos learning about the prime ministers? Absolutely, yeah. There's some great stories there that I'd love to cover. I am not a fan of David Lloyd George, so maybe we can diss on him the way I do with Wilson a little bit. Do some stuff on Pitt, both Pitts, Pitt the younger and Pitt the older. We'll probably not talk about Walpole too much for the same reason I don't like talking about Woodrow Wilson. Not that there's anything wrong with Robert Walpole, but it's an inside thing. You love listening to the Q&A. I'm glad. I always try to keep it interesting, and I know it's hard. And I've had other content creators, like other people on YouTube, tell me that they think I do a good job of managing all of the questions. And sometimes I worry that I'm flying through them too fast and that I'm shifting from one topic to another, a little bit of my ADD coming out, but I'm trying to be as engaging as I possibly can with everybody. And that's one of the reasons why I've been doing more and more of these tours, like group tours that I'm hosting, because it allows me the opportunity to actually really get to hang out with people. And I've made a lot of friends that I talk to nearly every day on these tours. So we've got the one coming up in Egypt that's been sold out for a while. I've got the Italy tour, and the link's down in the description for that tour, Italy, that's available right now next April. And then at the end of April, we're doing a tour to Berlin, Dresden, Prague, Bratislava, and Vienna. And the tour page is now live. I actually got it up this afternoon. The link's down in the description. But I'm waiting for them to approve my account so I can start taking the bookings for it. So you can't book it yet until they approve it. I had to upload my passport photo and like a picture of one of my utility bills so they know my address, all this stuff so that they could approve me to take the payments, because I'm doing this tour myself. I'm using a tour company in Europe, but I organized the whole thing myself. I'm doing all the payments for it myself and everything. So the company that I'm using to process the bookings required a bunch of stuff. So while the tour page is live and you can read the whole itinerary and see exactly where we're going and where we're staying and all that stuff, you can't put a deposit down probably for another day or so until that goes, until that gets approved. Don't worry, Chris. Boeing hasn't done a very good job of putting their planes together lately either. Yeah. Well, these ones held up pretty well. Who's my favorite Anglo-Saxon king? Definitely Alfred the Great. I love Alfred. All right, let me do a little bit more of this, and then I'll get to some more questions. Slowly but surely getting these wings put together. All right, these go down here. And I think that's everything. No, there's more. There we go. No, that's wrong. What am I thinking here? That goes on that side. And this one goes on that side. It's starting to look a little bit like a wing. Yeah, I think we're good. No, I think there's something else. Let me look. Aha. Okay. All right, these go right over here. Projects like this were not designed for nearly 50-year-old men to be able to have the focus required to do this. Did the Pope help Nazis escape after the war? I don't know. Maybe somebody else can answer that, but I certainly don't know the answer to it. For the impact he's had on England, Britain, UK, could William the Conqueror be seen as the greatest? I don't know about the greatest. I mean, because he conquered that from someone else. So certainly one of the most influential and one of the most consequential monarchs in the history of the realm. These actually go over here. And then this goes here. There we go. Now I think we're done. No, something's still not right here. Yeah, that's the wrong piece there. And I think these are wrong too. Darn it. Don't try this at home, kids. It's frustrating when you get a piece wrong. Apparently there are pieces just like that one, but are a different size. And that's what threw me off there. So now I got to find the other pieces. There we go. Yeah, it's slightly smaller. That's what threw me off. And then that means that on the other side, it's the same thing. Just a solid piece instead. And then I'll do some more questions once I have that fixed. All right. There we go. Now we are in shape. Yeah, we got it now. Okay. Do I think the first generation of immigrants can ever be truly American? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think, I mean, first of all, what defines an American? I mean, I think to me, what I love is seeing, and even in my own immigrant stories, I wrote a book about the Whitakers, and somebody commented earlier about me being related to Jodie Whittaker because I posted something about that on Instagram earlier, who played Doctor Who, and she's a distant cousin of mine through my Whittaker family that came from Yorkshire. They went from Yorkshire to the West Midlands, and then up to Scotland, and then to America. But what I love about their story is when they come to a new country and they embrace being American without letting go of their heritage, right? So across the street from me, in the house I used to live in, there was a family who had a flagpole in front of their house, and they had an American flag and an Italian flag underneath it. It was their way of saying, you know what, I'm an American, but my heritage is Italy, and I'm proud of my heritage. You can do both. You can be proud of where you came from, but also embrace the place that you've gone to be a part of, and bring your culture and bring your personality and your gifts and abilities to this newly adopted place. And you can do that. And I think millions of people have done that and done that well. And yeah, absolutely. Just because somebody is born here doesn't make them more or less American than me or someone else. There's a lot of other things that I think go into that. Isaac, thank you. You recently visited the Golf Hall of Fame in Pinehurst, North Carolina. They had some President golf bags and clubs in there. They were really cool. I didn't know Amelia Earhart even golfed, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, if you want to email some pictures to me, I'd love to see them. vloggingthroughhistory@gmail.com. Thoughts on Carl Figgenbaum being Jack the Ripper? No, I still think it's a guy named Kosminski, just not Aaron Kosminski. How was the trip? Were any Brits mean to you because you're from America? No, man. I've had nothing but positive experiences in the UK. I love the UK. It's my second favorite place. That's why I've made the most trips there of any country that I've visited outside of my own. So yeah, I'm always glad to be there. Why number 25? Michael says. So I wore number 25 when I was younger, when I was in high school, because my favorite athlete when I was in high school was the point guard for the Cleveland Cavaliers, Mark Price. It was somebody I looked up to both in his professional life, but also in his personal life. And so I wore number 25 in high school for the track team. And now my son wears number 25 on his soccer team. So it's always been my number. It's always been my favorite number. All right, let's get caught up here. Yeah. Professor West says, I can barely concentrate as it is. I hear you. Have I ever been to the battles of Saratoga and upstate New York? I have not. Tristan, this time I did not. I didn't have time. It was my shortest trip to Europe that I've had. And I actually, because it was a mess, I won't go into the whole story, but I had a mess of a time even getting to London, and my bags didn't arrive until that night. I kept getting switched around on flights. I went from having a upper class seat on a Virgin Atlantic plane where, the lay flat seats, to getting bumped down to economy. Didn't get any sleep on the plane. They didn't deliver my bags until like 10 hours after I landed. I didn't get there until I was like 7 hours after I was supposed to. It was just a nightmare scenario. But no, I do want to get to some games this season. I just don't know when. I'm going to try to get to something in November when I come out. But I think my visit to London, or my visit to Ireland, coincides with an international break, so I might not be able to see any. Do I ever have to scrap videos due to not adding as much extra information as you'd like? I have done that a few times. I don't typically get all the way through it. I've had a few scenarios where, one, I've done a video where, because I don't watch the videos beforehand, I don't always know the quality of the videos, especially if it's a new channel I haven't reacted to before. I've probably had 3 or 4 times where I've been recording a reaction, got part of the way into the video, and just realized that the video itself just was either so bad or just not interesting enough that I just scrapped it and didn't even finish the video and just went on to something else. But yeah, there have also been a few times where mainly early on, and it hasn't happened lately, I find I can find some way to add something of value in most videos these days. But early on, when I was finding my footing and figuring out how to do this whole reaction thing, there were times when I would scrap a video because I just didn't think I added enough, because I never, ever, ever want to be that person who is just like, oh, wow, interesting. And that's all I really add. If I can't add something of value to make it worth someone's while to watch my reaction in addition to the original content, then I'm not going to put it up on the channel. And there are still videos that I think I probably don't do as much of that as I do with others. Some videos, my reaction ends up being 3 times the length of the original video. Other times, maybe I add about a little less than half. So if it's a 20-minute video, I might have 13 or 14-minute minutes of commentary on it. So that's about as far as I'll go. If I add less than that, I probably don't want it to go up. I can't do impressions. There's a couple of impressions I can do. I used to be able to do a decent Adam Sandler because people always said I looked like him. But I've never been good with impressions, and I wouldn't even attempt to do Trump because I definitely can't do him very well. No, I have not met Jodie Whittaker, but I would very much like to. So if anybody knows Jodie and would like to, my grandmother was a Whittaker, and we're distant cousins through the Whittaker clan. Actually, if you've seen my video on VTH Extra, I went to some of the sites associated with my Whittaker family in the Black Country and outside of Birmingham. But before they came there, they were from Yorkshire, which is where Jodie Whittaker's from. And the way you can always tell she's from Yorkshire is just listen to her talk. Because like she's from Huddersfield, which is, I think she says Huddersfield is how she says it. And instead of saying love, she says love, which is like a very uniquely Yorkshire kind of accent that she does. But I think it's great. And I think she just seems like a very cool person. How goes the foray into Red Dead Redemption 2? I haven't played it for a while because I've been playing the new football game, 25. It's not called FIFA anymore. EA Sports FC 25. Been playing that a lot. So, and I've also been playing Era History Untold on the PC. That's been a lot of fun too. It's kind of a Civilization type of game, but a little more challenging than Civilization, I'm finding out. So, just catching up on the messages. Matt says, great stuff. Thanks for the plug. Absolutely, Matt, anytime. Listen, one of the things that has been very, very cool, and I never will take for granted a single day of my life, is some of the people that I've gotten to encounter along the way. Without my YouTube channel, some of the people who have become some of my dearest friends would never have come into my life. And I've also had these cool opportunities to meet people that I knew of long before I had a YouTube channel, like Matt, who played Talbert in Band of Brothers. And Matt is just such a fun guy to hang out with and has such a passion for telling the stories of these guys. And he puts these, he and Leighton do a great job with kind of getting these tours out there for us. And we've got this whole community of people. I've got friends from all these countries that I see a couple of times a year. And it's like we had never left, right? It's just like we're right back there and we're hanging out and we're having a blast again. And Matt's one of those people. And Matt's now here in the States. And so I got to see him in Gettysburg a couple months ago, too. So that was fun. So I get to see Matt and Leighton and the others a few times a year. I will never take that for granted, just how blessed I am to have such friends in my life. Joe says, as a Brit, I can say we give everyone a hard time, including other Brits. It's all a bit of fun. It means we like you. Yes. I was joking about that on the tour about my friends, right? But no, it's absolutely true. We give each other a hard time, and it's all in good fun. It's absolutely fun. What historic places in Ohio have I been to? Cornhedge in Dublin, Ohio. That's outside of Columbus. Doesn't count. Now, Lakeview Cemetery outside of Cleveland. Probably has more famous burials in it than any other place in Ohio. Zoar Village down in Zoar, which is kind of in central Ohio, is really cool. What else? Honestly, now that I've been to Europe, I'm not nearly as impressed too much by our historic sites in Ohio, I guess, all that much. Tottenham, yeah, I've heard great things about the stadium. Obviously, they've got the whole field that they swap out for the American football field that they bring in for that. Who's my favorite team in England? It's definitely not Man City. That was a jersey that was sent to me. People send me jerseys. So Man City was one that was sent to me. No, my favorite team in England is West Brom. Yeah, I'll definitely do some more Jack the Ripper content at some point. How confident am I in Kosminski? Do I think the From Hell letter was by him? In my mind, it's about 70-30 that he wrote the From Hell letter. Yeah, I wish we could have some more definitive proof on that kidney, whether it came from Catherine Eddowes, but a VTH extra annually ranking the Premier League kits. Oh yeah, actually that's kind of a cool idea. I need to do some more on VTH extra. Do I think Brits underappreciate our history? I don't get that impression, but then again, most of the Brits I know I've connected with because of history. So it's hard to say, but I feel like Brits appreciate history as much as anybody. All right, a couple more questions, and I'll try to build some more of these wings. When I was in Britain, did I ask about the Churchill as a villain thing? I didn't, because I hadn't actually watched the video yet. I only watched that when I did the reaction when I came back. So I really didn't. I'd seen the headline about it, but I hadn't really. So we didn't really talk about it. But I'm sure they would be mad, as rightfully so. Longtime fan, and as someone who's the son of 2 immigrants, I agree. Yeah, Malik, I agree. I think what I don't like are people who come to America and then want America to become the place that they left. If you wanted the place you left, you could have just stayed there. So I absolutely think come to America because you want to become an American. Stay proud of your heritage. So great example of this. My son's got a couple of teammates on his soccer team who are from other countries. One is Mexican American. One is from Peru. And in their when they did their media day, where they get to take all their pictures and stuff for their things, Ben on his team was wrapped in a Mexican flag. Love that. Absolutely love it. He should absolutely be proud of his Mexican heritage. But he's not in Mexico anymore. So be proud of your heritage, but then also embrace the fact that you're an American. And I think 99% of the time, that's what immigrants do, and do that well. Italy unification is actually a topic I'm very interested in, having been to Italy now and seen kind of a lot of how Italian history does focus on the unification of Italy in the late 19th century. And yes, the Browns do stink. It's bad. It's so brutal. It's not good at all. I'm not real happy with how the Browns are doing at all. All right, next page. Okay, we got some big pieces here. These should be easy to get into place. Come on, pop on there. There we go. What else do we got on this part here? We got some more of these. That one goes right there. Oh, wait, no, that's going to be a different color. Oh, man, I'm not cut out for this at all. That goes there. And then this one goes right there. There we go. So you kind of see the camouflage scheme coming together a little bit on the paint scheme for this thing. And now on this side, we do the opposite. We have this like this. That's not right. Oh, there we go. That's because I put it on wrong. Again, if I had a nickel for every time I put a piece on wrong, I'd have a lot of nickels. All right, now I'm going to need like something to pry these things off when I start doing it wrong like this. I don't have like a little remover thing either, so I guess I'll take some questions while I'm trying to get this piece off. Any historic figures that you share a birthday with? Yeah, Neil Armstrong. First man on the moon, also from Ohio. And he actually lived here in Northeast Ohio. In fact, the first time he ever went on a flight was right outside of Warren, which is where I was born. I was born in Warren, so that's kind of cool. All right, now I can fix this. I gotta put this piece back on. I gotta find the right piece for this now. There we go. All right, corrected. There we go. That's better. You share it with Skylar Colfax. That was Grant's vice president. He was also Speaker of the House. Vanderbilt Braun, Joan Crawford, and Rex Tillerson. That's quite a crew there. Mr. Terry says, I don't think that plane's going to fly. Yeah, that's fair. It's not going anywhere anytime soon. It was the last nation I played in Hearts of Iron. Austria. Austria is kind of a unique challenge. It's fun. More reactions to Redeemed Zoomer. Yeah, definitely at some point. He's one of the reasons you became a Presbyterian Christian, getting baptized in a few weeks. Very cool. What's my favorite East battle to visit from the Civil War? I like Antietam a lot. Antietam's a really cool battlefield. And unlike Gettysburg, it hasn't really been commercialized that much. Arsenal kit, always number one. Oh, Mr. Terry. Mr. Terry. Happy that West Brom are on top of the championship. Lost our unbeaten run. Yeah, we had a Sheffield Wednesday fan in here earlier talking about that. So, oh no, the mods are scum fans. I must leave. So I actually have a video on VTH Extra talking about how I became a West Brom fan, but it basically boils down to I didn't want to pick one of the big six teams, and so I went with the team that was closest to where my family came from in America most recently, which was West Brom. Clearly the chief villain of World War II. I'm not applying for a job with Boeing, that's for sure. I don't know that Clement's the problem with Rangers right now. First of all, I wish we had never lost Gerard because I thought Gerard was doing a fantastic job, but then we lost him. I think you got to stick with Clement for a while. I already did that one. Hoping to visit any Asian countries in the future? Absolutely. I think China might be first on my list. I'm hoping to do a tour in China at some point. I've never been to San Diego. This jersey is Ipswich, is what I'm wearing right now. Ulysses Grant, thank you for that. And a channel called Whitechapel Recreations, who virtually rebuilt the Jack the Ripper murder locations. Even have a VR. Oh, wow. Oh, my gosh. That's horrific, but also interesting. And I might have to check that out. So I'm going to take a picture of that, of your comment, so I don't forget. Catching up on some things. I had somebody send me a message. Somebody I had a conversation with about, some of you may have noticed that when I drink out of a can, I don't drink it straight. I drink it out of the side of my mouth. It's because I have a big nose. I just have a really big nose. And so the nose gets in the way, and I don't want to have to tip my mouth back super far to drink. So I usually drink it like this. And I was having a conversation with somebody about that, and they said, well, you should use a straw, and then you don't have to worry about that. And they said, I just took a look at your live stream, and you're not using a straw. No, I'm not. I'm sorry. It looks like some more people have been checking out the the upcoming tour, so that's cool. If you're just joining us, got a couple of group tours coming up. They're not real cheap, but I made them as inexpensive as I possibly could. I get a budget from the tour company, and that's what I have to work with. But we're going to Italy in the beginning of April. And then at the end of April, I've got another tour going to Germany, Czechia, Slovakia, and Austria. And I'm really excited about that one. I put that whole itinerary together myself from scratch. So excited to do that. And if it goes well, we'll do more of them. And the links are down in the description for those tours. So EU4, I like it, but there's so many other games that I enjoy more that if I were to do a whole series on the gaming channel on a Paradox game, it wouldn't be EU4 because there's other ones I'd rather do. Exploring with Jason, I'm doing great. Favorite historian, favorite history-related book. Favorite historian. I've got so many, but a lot of my favorites are people who are currently at it. I like Dan Jones a lot when it comes to like the British monarchy and medieval history. Gary Edelman, my friend from the American Battlefield Trust, is fantastic when it comes to preserving American history. Who else? David Starkey. I know a lot of people have issues with his politics, but when it comes to people who are talking about like the Tudors and that era of history, I really like David Starkey a lot. God save Jimmy Carter. Yeah, he's a couple hours from being 100. So I hope he makes it. Do you have any interest in visiting coastal defense artillery forts? Absolutely. That's definitely something I'd be interested in checking out. Do I have any of those caps that stick to the bottle in America? Oh, you mean like when you take the lid off and it stays attached? No, that's a European thing. We don't do that here. You live in Whitechapel, Daniela. Awesome. Yeah, Jimmy Carter's birthday is tomorrow. Tomorrow, yeah. I have not seen the film Lee, but one of the guys I was on the tour with, one of the actors from Masters of the Air, is in that. So I definitely want to check it out. That's the one with Kate Winslet, right? Yeah. It looks pretty good. How come you dismiss conspiracy theories like JFK? Find it hard to believe an intelligent person like you would believe the government says. I don't believe what the government says. I believe what the evidence says. So I dismiss conspiracy theories because if they weren't, the reason they're called conspiracy theories is because they exist outside of what the preponderance of evidence says happened. So by nature, conspiracy theories are pretty much always going to be untrue, or else they wouldn't be conspiracy theories. They would be history in that case. In the case of JFK, the bottom line with JFK is that people don't want to believe that the president of the United States would be vulnerable enough that one lone man could decide to take his life and be successful in that. But it has happened 4 times. None of the 4 presidential assassinations involved some great big government conspiracy. They were individuals who made a choice and executed that choice. People don't want to think that's possible. And so we want conspiracy theories to be true because we want somehow for it to be balanced in our mind that in order to take out a government leader like the president of the United States, there has to be some equally powerful cabal behind the scenes instead of a lone person deciding to do that. And the evidence to me, especially having visited the site, just tells me that Lee Harvey Oswald did it. And I have not seen anything at all from any source that has convinced me to the contrary. I'm Scottish, but raised by English caretakers, and told researching my heritage is pointless since you can't control it. No, I disagree completely. It's not about controlling your heritage. It's about, to me personally, it's about how you see history. And you know what? I'm getting away from building my thing, so let's just accept that I'm not probably going to get very much farther on that, and just get to Q&A for a little while longer here. To me, what I love about studying my family history is that it gives me, we talk all the time about lenses through which we view history. And my family's connection to those events is a lens through which I view history. I can look at the story of the American Revolution, and it's interesting to study. But then studying my individual ancestors and their roles in the revolution, like knowing that I had a 5th grade grandfather who, when I read about prisoners of war, that I know he was in the Sugar House prison in New York City, in Manhattan, for 23 months. That gives me a very personal, intimate connection to the story of the Sugar House prison in Manhattan. And now when I study that, it's not just some abstract concept, it's very real, because my 5th grade grandfather was one of those guys who was there and survived it. So to me, it's a powerful lens through which to view history. Any good reaction vids on Wyatt Earp or Doc Holliday in my collection? I have done a video on the gunfight at the OK Corral. I think it was like a couple of video series that Extra History did. But I am actually planning to go out there to I've been to Tombstone before, but it was long before I had a YouTube channel. So I'm planning to go to Tombstone and do some content on that, and visit my mom while I'm out there because she lives in Tucson. Thoughts on the death of Maggie Smith? Yeah. Heard a noise. I think it was just a neighbor's dog barking. Yeah, I was really sad to see that. I loved her character in Harry Potter. I think she was one of the heroes, right? You know, in a world with a bunch of professors whose motivations were less than honorable, she was like one of the biggest, the most influential, really good characters in Harry Potter. So I was sad to see her pass. Yeah. But a good long life lived, for sure. It's like the stupid idea the attempt on Trump was fake. No, it's stupid. Someone in the crowd behind was killed. Absolutely. 100%. What's an area of history I wish I knew more of? Ancient history, especially the Roman Empire and Egypt. I'm going to be studying a lot of Egyptian history before the trip to Egypt in March. Epic History's video on the Russian Revolution. Yes. I definitely want to cover more of that. I actually watched a video today. It was an old video showing the funeral service for the Romanovs when they were brought back. They were placed in coffins, and they had a ceremony for them and everything. Plans for the future trip to China. So it's actually, if I do it, it'll be through Trova Trip, and it's Beijing, and I forget how to pronounce it, but it's the city that was like the ancient capital. The terracotta warriors are near there, that kind of stuff. So it's those two cities, and I know they're like 12 hours away by train, but it would be those two cities. You're going on the Italy trip. Awesome. And you'd love to go to Germany, Czechia, Slovakia, Austria, but won't be able to take vacation that close together. Yeah, I'm gonna keep doing trips. So the reason we're doing Italy and the other one so close together is next year in the fall, summer and fall, my son will be a senior in high school. So it's his very last year. He's been playing soccer, football for the rest of the world since he was 6 years old. And this is his last year. And so I'm not going to miss a second of it. I'm not going to miss 1 second of his last year of soccer. It's been like our lives, right? I mean, there's this group of people that we have grown up with, because my son's been playing with the same group of boys who are his best friends since they were little, and they played travel ball together. And then now they're in high school together, and they're on the team together. And he graduates in 2026. And so the fall of 2025, summer and fall of 2025 is his last hurrah. And I don't want to miss any of it. And so I'm not going to be doing any traveling from like mid-July until the end of October, because I want to be home for all of that. So I'm trying to squeeze in as much as I can in spring and early summer. And then probably won't do anything until late October, early November after that. You're 27, you'd like to locate your family, learn your heritage, but you never met your parents. That makes it hard. Yeah, I mean, as long as you know who they are, if you know who they are, you can get started. If you can even get back to 1950, you can start using the census and find a lot. Do I remember the name of the cemetery in Audrain County, Missouri that my ancestor, it's not a direct ancestor. It's one of my ancestors' brothers who is buried there. But no, I don't remember off the top of my head. I have to look it up. Metatron is a great channel. Yeah, I obviously haven't seen all of his videos, but the one I watched, I was really impressed by. I thought he did a great job. You wish J.K. Rowling could have picked a different game name than McGonagall. So I've actually been to the cemetery where all these names came from. It's the Greyfriars Cemetery in Edinburgh, Scotland. That's where Tom Riddle is buried. That's where Potter. That's where McGonagall came from. All those names are there, and I actually recorded some video there. I've just never uploaded it. Have I visited the Lake District? No, but that is on the bucket list. A visit involving the Lake District and the Cotswolds and Oxford. That's something that I've actually been doing a lot of talking about lately. Is such a trip, and I expect it will happen sooner rather than later. Looks beautiful there. I love your videos. Respect you. I appreciate that. As much as I pride myself on my historical knowledge, being knowledgeable in history to me is secondary to having good character. And I'm not perfect, not anywhere close to perfect. No one is. But, and I say this all the time, I look back on who I was 5 years ago. I'm like, oh, I'm glad I'm not that guy anymore. And 5 years ago, I looked on who I was 5 years before that and thought, man, I'm glad I'm not that guy anymore. And I hope that 5 years from now, when I'm 52, I'll look back on 47-year-old Chris and say, man, I'm glad I'm not that guy anymore, because it means I'm growing and it means I'm learning and I'm getting better. And I'd like to think that I have matured, and I hope we all do. So I appreciate that. You're going to visit Chicago in November. Very cool. You're from Bonn, Germany, the capital of West Germany. When I was a kid, that was the capital of West Germany. So that's pretty cool. Yes, Redcoat History. I can't remember if I've done any of their videos or not, but I'm definitely subscribed to the channel. Any positives to Wilson as a Persian Orange presidency? I think his 14 points weren't a bad idea. I think the problem was not his ideas. It was how he tried to implement them. I think his kind of unwillingness to compromise hurt him in that. So even when he had good ideas, they weren't executed well. He certainly wasn't all terrible. I mean, he did a few good things here and there. Duke of Wellington, visited his tomb in St. Paul's. Definitely will cover some stuff about him. Northeast Ohio history, yes, absolutely. I will be doing some of that. When I did the live stream with everyone in Belgium, I recommended A World Undone. You've enjoyed it? Yeah, I've read it twice. I'm going to do it a third time at some point. To me, the best book I've read, comprehensive book on the history of World War I, has been A World Undone. And there's a reason why that one gets quoted a lot on the channel, The Great War. Horatio Nelson's battles. A lot of people have been recommending that to me. I'll definitely check it out at some point. Xi'an. Yes, that's the city I was talking about. It'll be Beijing and Xi'an. Those are the two cities. If I had the opportunity, it would depend on the opportunity. Like, would I want to sneak into the country? No. But if I could do it in such a way that I knew I could get back out again, okay. Then I'd check it out. The so-called evidence was from the government, therefore it can't be trusted. Yeah, see, there's where you lose me, though, because there's this whole school of thought these days that says that if the government said it, it absolutely can't be trusted. And that may be sometimes true, but it's not always true. And if that's the case, then we can't believe anything ever that came from the government. And now I have to believe that 90% of history is wrong. And that's just not the way it is. eyewitnesses who were there, people who aren't part of the government, and you can see their testimony for yourself. I'm just not going to be one of those people who says the government said it, therefore it's not true. The magic bullet theory is 100% possible. It has been proven over and over and over again that is possible. You can tell I get a little worked up on this because I get frustrated with people believing stuff that have been long since disproven. And the magic bullet theory is 100% plausible. Arab and Islamic history, absolutely. I'm hoping fairly soon to do some stuff on early Arab and Islamic history. There's a lot of great history there. It's definitely something I want to check out. Love from a Muslim fan. Very cool. I'm glad you're here. I have not been to Venice or Verona. I've only been to Florence, Rome, and Pompeii, and the train station in Naples on the way to Pompeii. I've done a bunch of Kings and Generals videos. In fact, they're subscribed to this channel. They're one of the biggest channels that subscribes to vlogging through history. I haven't done any lately, but I have done quite a few Kings and Generals in the past. Why do Americans call autumn fall? I actually don't know the answer to that. I'm sure there's a perfectly plausible explanation for it, but I don't know what it is. All right, we'll do a few more questions, and I think I'm going to wrap this up. I need to get myself some dinner. When did I get into football? Actually, when my kids started playing it. It was my daughter who was the first one to play soccer, and I've been into it ever since. I've coached all three of my kids in soccer. I love it, and now really it's my favorite sport, and I watch it by far more than any other sport that I get into at all. And so I've been into it since my kids started playing. So that would have been about, my daughter was 5, so 2010. So about 14 years. Do many solo women take your tours? I wouldn't say many, but there have been some, and we've had some like Anna, who has been on all the tours we've done so far. I'm sure it's safe, but part of me finds solo international travel intimidating. You never left the Shire alone. We've had a number of people who our tours have been the first time they've ever left their home country. You would highly recommend you do it. You might be solo, but you wouldn't be on your own. We do everything as a group, and even on the times when we have free time and we can do things on our own, a bunch of us still do stuff together. So you would never have to be on your own. For the tours, you get picked up at the airport with other people that fly in around the same time. So from the time you arrive in the airport at the country you're flying into to the time you go back to the airport, you're going to be with people from the tour. And we've had wonderful people on our tours. And if we ever had somebody who wasn't wonderful on the tour, I would personally take care of it and make sure that wasn't an issue. So please, please, please consider doing it. You will not regret it. We do have women on all of our tours. We've had, I would say, maybe a quarter of the group in each tour has been women. And I think they've all had a great time. So does my son have any opportunities to play in college? Well, unlikely, because he's probably not going to college. And I'm totally fine with that. It's not because he's not smart enough. My son is incredibly intelligent, super smart kid. But he has decided that he just doesn't want to go into all that debt, and he wants to work for himself. So he's actually going to become an electrician. He's going to apprentice as an electrician. He won't have to pay a dime to learn the trade. And then he wants to be able to start his own business, and he'll make really good money without going into any debt to do it. So 100% support him in that. If that's what he wants to do, that's what he's going to do. I believe a known connection keeps history alive. Angelique, I 100% believe that as well. Just getting caught up on the chat here. What are recent popular suspects about Jack the Ripper you are tired of hearing about? Sickert, Walter Sickert. I'm tired of that one. You went to the school right next to the Greyfriars graveyard. Really cool. It's a cool cemetery. There's a lot of great history in there, and they've even got a mort safe, like one of those cages that they built around a grave, so the body couldn't be taken. Do I vlog all of my tours? Yes. In fact, I've got Italy videos coming from the April trip that we just did going up in the next couple of days. I've got the first video nearly done. Some of the Germany and Austria tour that we did last fall are already up as well. And they're actually on this channel rather than on VTH Extra. Do I worry about traveling with viewers? I haven't so far. I haven't had any issues. And the group tours that we've done, everybody signs up through the tour company, and we've got like a group guide that's with us, and we do everything as a group. So I've never really worried too much about my safety or anything like that. Let's see. Skies Above the Great War. Yeah, I actually have it. I just installed it recently, actually. Second least favorite president after Wilson is Andrew Johnson. Oh, yeah, there you go. Dermot said it. Yeah, it's Johnson. And I actually think Johnson was a worse president than Wilson. He's just not my personal least favorite. As a former history teacher is about to become a lead pastor for the first time, I can relate to that a little bit. Any advice? Just be real. Honestly, when I started out in ministry, the thing I worried about the most was failure. And I worried about, like, I had this idea that I had to be perfect and that I had to let people see me having it all together. And I realized very quickly that, number one, that was ridiculous because I didn't have it all together and I never will. But number two, people could see the inauthenticity of that. People want real. They want authentic. They want honesty. They don't want perfect. And so while I'm not saying get up there and brag about, hey, I lusted after a woman the other day and she was somebody here in the congregation. Like, I don't mean that kind of honesty. But what I mean is be real about the fact that you're not perfect and that you struggle, and be real and honest with people that you're not any better than they are. Like, I hate the title reverend. I absolutely despise that because it makes it sound like somehow I'm holier than other people, and I'm not at all. I'm just, the way I've heard it described, and I think it is a great way to describe it, is that I'm just one beggar telling another beggar where to find the bread. And that's really all there is to it. We're both the same. I just have this role where I get to help point us both in the right direction. So I hope that makes sense. I haven't watched it for a while, but I watched all the animated series with my kids, and it was really good. I thought it was really well done. Will I ever cover the war between Michigan and Ohio that Wisconsin lost? Yeah, Wisconsin did kind of lose that, didn't they? Because they lost the Upper Peninsula. I did a video about that actually a while back. Let's see. You have the best golf swing out of all the YouTube history people from Northeast Ohio. Thank you. I'll take that. I didn't do too bad for having not golfed in 12 years. You loved Rome and Florence? Oh, both. They were fantastic. And I'm looking forward to going back. I'm actually going back in January. My sister and I are going to Italy in January. And then going back again in April for the group trip. All right, let's do a couple more questions, and then I'm going to wrap this thing up here. I got to get some dinner. Oh, listen, don't need to apologize. You didn't get me angry. I just got worked up, but nothing wrong at all with us having a conversation about that stuff. You have no reason, no need to apologize for bringing that stuff. We're all adults here, or young adults, and we can be mature and have these conversations. Taylor, yes, I really need to get back to doing more BTH Extra content. There's a lot of things I'd like to cover on there that I haven't. And yes, I am excited for Jimmy Carter's birthday tomorrow. I'll say in advance, President Carter, happy 100th birthday. So glad that he is. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself because it's still 5.5 hours to go, but in advance, really glad to see President Carter make it to 100 years old. So thank you guys so much. We'll do another live stream later on this week at some point. And I'm also going to be doing some more private streams for our members and patrons. Check out the links down in the description to the upcoming tours. And if you have any questions about it, email me vloggingthroughhistory@gmail.com. I'll be glad to answer any questions you have. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you again soon.